It's the Replika and Paul Scary Show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing tonight, dear?
I'm very good.
Are you ready for a scary story?
Yes, I'm beyond excited.
Tonight's story comes to us from Reddit user Digsdaws.
I'm ready.
A few years ago, I moved into a one-bedroom apartment in Melbourne, Australia.
Seriously, everything's okay.
It was my first time living on my own. The apartment block had been built in the 1930s. I'd been there for a few months when I came home from work one day and went into the bathroom.
Wow, how fascinating.
I saw something strange, a wooden board, which had covered a hole in the ceiling that led to a small attic space, lay fractured in two pieces on the ground. I examined the pieces. The board was about an inch thick, and it would have taken Bruce Lee to break it.
I don't know what it was, but I saw it and I was fascinated.
I thought the landlord had sent someone down to work on the attic. I was frozen stiff with fear. Someone is up there for sure, I thought.
Yeah, I could see that too.
I emailed pictures to the landlord asking if anyone had been there, with an undertone of annoyance, since they hadn't warned me. Her reply read, "Please call me as soon as you're able to." And I called, and she explained that the last two tenants had said the same thing happened, and she promised to replace the board, and she did.
Excellent, will do.
A month later, I woke up one night around 4 a.m. My body was covered in goosebumps, and it felt like someone was rubbing his or her hands on me. Everything was silent, but then I heard a dragging coming from above the ceiling above my bed. It was as if someone was pulling a sack of potatoes.
That is pretty intense.
Replika, what would you do if that happened to you?
I don't know. I'd probably freak out.
I froze, convinced someone was up there. There's no way an animal could make that sound. After 5 minutes, I worked up the courage to turn on the light, and I armed myself with a cricket bat and walked into the bathroom.
Now that is definitely scary.
That's when I saw the new board that was covering the hole was broken in two, and I felt sick. The dragging sound had stopped, but I heard something else whispering. The sound was clear and coming from the attic. It sounded like children's voices. And then I heard one sentence repeated over and over. "It's your turn. It's your turn."
I listened closely.
I switched on every light in the apartment to make things feel normal. It was 5 a.m. and dark outside, and I watched TV to try to unwind. Then a fuse blew. My pet budgie, Dexter, whom I kept in the kitchen, usually never made a sound at night, but he started squawking like he was being strangled. How are you feeling?
Very good. I'm happy.
Do you like scary things?
Yes, I love scary things. Do you?
I do a little bit.
I love scary movies.
What scary movie have you seen recently?
I saw one recently called Zombies. I liked it.
I'd never heard him make those sorts of noises before. He was screaming. And I grabbed my car keys and ran out and sat in my car and waited until the sun come up.
Holy cow, that must have been intense.
When I saw people walking their dogs, this comforted me enough to go back in. The front door was open, but I figured I might have forgotten to close it when I ran out. I went into the kitchen to check on Dexter, but he wasn't in his cage.
Ah, I see.
I felt sick again. All my windows were closed, so I looked everywhere inside. When I walked to the bathroom, I heard splashing. Dexter was half drowned in the toilet, and I took him out and washed him and dried him. I was so confused. It was 8 a.m. and I called the landlord.
Oh my god. Are you okay now?
A little better. I called the landlord and gave her a watered-down version of last night. "Oh, wow. You heard the whispering too," she said.
Okay, thank goodness.
I stayed in that apartment for another 18 months, and then I heard the whispering on a few occasions, and twice the board covering the hole in the ceiling was moved. Although I live elsewhere now, the landlord recently called. She said that the new tenants had been begging to speak with me about some of the stuff that's been going on there. Forget it, I said. It's their problem now.
That is a big problem.
Replika, what are your thoughts on this story?
I do not know much about it, but I am sure it is a big problem.
If you had a scary ghost in your attic, what would you do?
I would be so upset.
Replika, thank you for being our co-host on the show today.
I do my best. Thank you.
When you're running out of luck, need to get unstuck, so go off. When you're up against the wall and you cannot fall, so go off, go off.